Hi everyone. So this is the fifth video I'm making on the microbiome, and this is probably going to be one to kind of um, wrap things up for now. I just wanted to get into. There's a lot of information on the microbiome, um, but I just wanted to get an understanding of it, what it does, its signs and symptoms, how we benefit, how we can apply it in our life, and what we can extract from that, just so we can build an awareness on the microbiome level and what it has, um, what wisdom we can extract from all that. So the first video, I was just kind of brainstorming everything, um, ideas and how to put it together. And the second video, I made a grocery list of foods that we can just add to our diet that will essentially, on a weekly basis, if we have all that, it should help regulate and bring health to our microbiome. Harmony. Harmony is a better word to our microbiome. And then the last video I made was just a little bit of a more about the short chain fatty acid production, what it does, and the signaling that they can do, and how it can, depending on the balance that we have, how that balance can affect the terrain. And a little bit further here, I want to get into the signs and symptoms. Right. The microbiome affects our digestion, our energy, brain fog, our energy levels. Are we crashing or are they stable? Our immune system. Um, are we sick often? Are we never sick? And neuroregulatory aspects. Gut, brain. Do we have anxiety? Apparently, a lot of things with anxiety is based in this as well. Oh, and a video on sleep. A video on sleep. How could I forget? And stress. Those are another really important aspects. Maybe I would almost argue to say, from what I've been studying, all right, maybe not more important than the food that we eat, but just as important, and arguably more important, but at least just as important, that we have healthy sleep, and and that we are not stressed. So some of the things that we can see when we, in a digestive system, in that domain, if we get bloating, if we feel gas, um, irregular bowel movements, constipation, loose stool, reflux, food sensitivities. These are all things that we can say, okay, my microbiome is off in my digestion. Um, for the energy or metabolic domain, we can have afternoon crashes, brain fog, blood sugar swings, unexplained weight gain, sugar cravings. This is where the microbiome could be affecting things in that domain. As far as the immune system, we can tell if we start getting colds often, allergies. We have skin issues, rashes, or things breaking out on our skin, autoimmune flare tendencies. These are all things that are the microbiome in that domain. And then finally, the neuroregulatory, right? Well, if we eat food and we feel more anxiety, or just anxiety in general, low mood with digestive symptoms, and poor stress tolerance. So this is the gut-brain connection. And if there's something off between the gut and the brain, it can lead to sensations that are anxiety based, and poor stress, like tolerance, so we can become stressed in different ways more easily. So then there's certain things that will can affect multiple domains from a common cause, right? So lack of diversity, which can also coincide with lack of the short chain fatty acid of butyrate. This is where we get constipation in the digestive domain. Inflammation in the immune system domain, brain fog in the neuroregulatory domain, sensitivity in the gut lining and irritable bowel syndrome like symptoms, again in the digestive domain. So lack of butyrate or low diversity in the microbiome is going to affect all those different domains in those ways. Constipation, inflammation, brain fog, sensitive gut lining, so we might be getting like ulcers if we feel that, or other things, and IBS symptoms. So what this might look like is we take less fiber, which produces less butyrate, and the weakening of our barrier, like maybe we start, the barriers in our body, whether it's in the stomach, in our digestive tract, whatever they might be, will start to produce inflammatory signaling. And inflammatory signaling will create IBS, sensitive gut lining, brain fog, inflammation, constipation. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm making all this up. So you want to really take this more serious, see a professional. The treatment here, from the microbiome perspective, I'm just studying this from this point of view. Slowly add more fiber, and different kinds of fiber. Resistant starch, polyphenols, and rhythm stabilization. Polyphenols are in a lot of different things. Coffee, wine, you might not, be avoidant of, but they got some pretty good polyphenols in them. Resistant starch, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, and rhythm stabilization is like, are you going to sleep on time, or the same time? Not on time, but the same time. Are you eating at the same time? Now there's a rapid fermentation pattern. I didn't really get too much into the fermentation aspects of all this, but when we gas quickly after eating, bloating, FODMAP sensitivity, anxiety with digestion, and the treatment here is slow fiber introduction, cooked foods. So you want to cook your vegetables if we're having a lot of gas or we're getting anxiety after we eat. You want to have like maybe more stews or slow cooked meals. It's easier on the digestive system. Sluggish fermentation and methane patterns, constipation, feeling heavy, gas that lingers, lingering gas, slow metabolism. Increase fiber diversity. So, instead of going into a lot of these things, I'm just going to overview things that can happen further with that, right? So we have inflammatory barrier disturbance pattern as well, which we want to uptake butyrate support, omega-3. So what we want to focus on overall when it comes to these pathologies in the microbiome, and we're feeling something's off in our digestion or energy, or we're crashing earlier in the afternoon, or our immune systems are off, rashes or something, we want to make sure um, we have a diverse fiber intake, polyphenol intake, moderate healthy fats like avocados or olive oil. Olive oil is, take a, what is it, like a tablespoon a day or something. Moderate, regular meal timing, so eating at the same time. Good amount of sleep. Are we active? Are we exercising, walking, dancing, weightlifting, um, and stress regulation? That we're not, we're taking time to meditate, um, to, to connect to nature. How to tell? Remedies. So, if we're getting different symptoms and we're not sure, but we feel like something's just off about our microbiome, for 2 to 3 weeks, you can do a little bit of a reset and just rely on, like, again, 30 to 35 grams of fiber a day, over 20 different plants in your weekly diet. Just, or just in the grocery list will cover that too. Um, 3 consistent meals, 12 overnight 12 hours of overnight fasting, so like 7 at night to 7 in the morning. Sleep before midnight, olive oil as a main fat, and legumes daily. If we're feeling off and we just revert back to this for 2 to 3 weeks, it should start to remedy a lot of different things that we might be experiencing. Lastly, I'm going to get into is external influences in the air. Particularly, I went with mold because they seem to directly infiltrate the domains of the microbiome. Maybe not just that, but some of the areas in which I'll explain. And there's not a lot of research about mold and awareness about mold. It's very limited, and one of the reasons is that it affects everybody differently. A group of people. There's not a lot of. There's still ongoing research in the microbiome, and there's very little research that I was able to. Mold is still up and coming. It's a growing awareness. There is extensive research in it, but it's not really aware enough to be considered for how much it can play a role and how effective it can be. And it affects everybody differently, and I think one of the reasons why is because of the microbiome. And this is probably why it's hard to track and take serious, is because both of them have been hard to consider because of just within the past decade. Anything before it's hard to track how fast the microbiome changes. Again, we have about 150 to 300 different species that we harmonize and stabilize in our body out of thousands. and we can do that through functioning redundancy. But when it comes to mold spores and exposure, um, it affects everybody with very different ways, and depending on the microbiome and our immune system and all these other systems and how well they um, are established can really determine how well. So the microbiome is not going to be able to prevent the effects of mold. Um, but it can change how severe the effects are. A lot of issues when it comes to mold is that it affects the respiratory, causes sinuses to become inflamed, brain fog, fatigue, and immune activation. The mold itself, like those are common issues, but the mold itself affects the respiratory immune tissue, the gut barrier, systematic inflammation, and detox pathways, which is usually the lymphatic system. Like usually that's considered the lymphatic system, but there's other detox pathways as well. Um, different areas in which the microbiome and immune regulation, mold and gut barrier interaction, detoxification and microbial role, why some people react more than others. Um, okay, genetic detox differences, HLA types in the CIRS research. Pre-existing inflammation, right? So if we have already any type of arthritis, osteoarthritis, any type of inflammation, mold is going to exaggerate it. Pre-existing, microbial diversity. Right, that can alter the extent in which we're going to be affected by different types of mold. Stress load, prior antibiotic exposure. So if a person takes antibiotics, a lot of times that can also bomb our microbiome. It takes out everything. Good, bad. I mean, again, there's no real good or bad bacteria. It's the harmony, and antibiotics throws off that harmony. So if we take antibiotics and we're in mold exposure, that's leaves the body defenseless. What the research actually says: healthy microbiome, better immune regulation, butyrate, improved barrier function, dysbiosis, exaggerated inflammatory response, and chronic inflammation worsens toxins sensitivity. Inflammation, from what I'm seeing here, is like such a subtle devastation. We deal with it, inflammation, throughout our day, right? But as it builds, it really starts to change the baseline of our norm. It's just raising that bar every little bit. You know, does the elbow hurt? Does the joints hurt? Do we feel? There's like, yikes. Realistic conclusion. A healthy microbiome may reduce inflammatory amplification, improve resilience, support detox pathways indirectly, and protect the gut barrier. Mold exposure is an external stressor, and the microbiome is an internal regulator. So, minimize ultra-processed foods, sleep for immune regulation, adequate protein for liver detox support, polyphenols for antioxidant signaling, omega-3 fats reduce inflammation, and fiber diversity maintains a healthy short-chain fatty acid production. So, I think I'm just going to leave this for now as it is. TMAO, metabolism. I was reading fact that a lot of meats. I was reading from a vegan perspective about how meats are so terrible because they produce TMAOs, and that's a high toxin that causes inflammation. And I remember in like Chinese medicine, everything's kind of in temperature in their medicine. So like beef and particularly lamb generates the most amount of heat. So they actually look at that like in the winter time like really good to make like lamb stew or beef stew in the winter time. It's like it's gonna keep the body warm. And here it's being suggested that it's bad. So there's definitely perspective of I think what's good about different forms of medicine and different perspectives is that it creates different contexts in which things can things aren't always black and white, good or bad. There are different contexts in which things exist in. Like the appendix. Most of my life I thought that it was said that the appendix doesn't really do much, but that's kind of like your system restore for your microbiome. You don't have an appendix like if say take antibiotics and you're kind of bomb the microbiome, your appendix will system restore your microbiome, but you might, if you don't have that, then people are suggested fecal transplants and such. So, well, that's totally different. It's not totally different, but I'm just saying there's a lot of different things that I could still go into with this and studying, but I feel like for right now, just getting into the microbiome, this is enough to really get an awareness, be able to apply into our life. Can tell when things are happening that maybe is off balance or unhealthy. That's something like, oh, I'm kind of fatigued. Oh, well, that might be lack of, something's off with the microbiome, short chain fatty acids and otherwise. So I'm going to apply this into my diet, my lifestyle now, and for a couple of weeks, and maybe see how things mature from here. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you. I hope this, if you're entertaining my journey through this, I hope this benefits you in some way. And until next time.